Hello, world. Welcome back to another episode of After the Break. I am Jay Paul. Right now, in this season, it is very imperative in the way that you structure your home and your finances. And this is the perfect person to assist you with the process, Ms. Joyce Harris.
Thanks for having me.
So, Joyce, right now, economically, there's been a downturn of in a lot of people's financial situation. And one of the things that people are kind of off balance from is the fact that they don't have their finances properly structured. Taxes and proper filing is a part of that structure. Give the people a brief summary of the services you provide.
Yes, of course I can. Well, you guys, hi, my name is Joyce Harris. Of course, as he announced, I was born and raised in Louisiana, small town Alexandria. Okay, now I'm proud to call a city north of Dallas my home, right? I'm a tax preparer. I've been doing taxes for over 5 years now. And let me tell you, I love helping and taking the stress out of tax. And that way people really can understand their money, when filing their taxes. So I'm also out here in the state of Texas. I'm a commissioned notary public for the state of Texas. So whether it's taxes or documents or just keeping your business in order, I'm your go-to girl. You can always reach out, and let me know how can I assist you, whether that's notarizing something for you or helping you with your taxes. I'm all about empowering people and with the knowledge and the confidence that I have, to handle your finances and build strong futures for yourself and your families. So if you're ready to talk money, motivation, and make things happen, hey, you're in the right place today.
For man, it sounds like you got people covered all across the board. And how important is it to file? Because one thing I did in the past, right? I didn't file. I didn't file for a couple of years. I made one move one time, and I didn't have any money in the bank. They hit me.
Hey.
I was like, whoa. So how important is it for people to file, and what's the grace period when it comes to garnishments?
Okay, so when you're talking about taxes and the filing, right, and why is filing important to file properly, right? If you file on time, you get the refund you deserve first and foremost, right? Because when you file your taxes right away, you make sure you're getting every dollar that you've earned and every credit deduction you qualify for. So many people leave money on the table because they rush their taxes, right? They miss something, small. Filing properly means, you'll get your full refund, not just a piece of it. You'll be getting everything that you need by, just taking your time, allowing someone to look at all your documents, making certain everything, that you have is necessary to get those taxes filed for you. Also, if you file properly, you avoid penalties and headaches, right? I'm just going to keep it real with you. The IRS don't play. We all know that when it comes to deadline. Filing properly, and on time saves you those late fees that the IRS have, penalty letters. Nobody want to see those penalty letters, right? You don't want to see that in your mailbox or in your messenger box on the IRS.gov site, right? So the peace of mind that coming with knowing that you did things right, that's priceless within itself. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I say, you avoid those penalties and your headache. And the third thing, it keeps you organized, for the future, right? When your taxes are done right, you got clean records, and that helps with everything from buying a home, applying for loans, and starting that business that you always wanted. Good record keeping makes it life a whole lot easier, whether it's financial aid, business grants, audits. You're already steps ahead when you file your taxes properly and on time. And then it builds trust and credibility, right? If you're self-employed, running a little side hustle or a business, filing correctly helps you build credibility, right, with the banks. Not only with the banks, your clients, and number one and foremost, the IRS, right? It shows you're serious about doing things the right way. So clean taxes, clean reputation. That's how you build your financial confidence and your opportunities moving forward when you're trying to, file your personal taxes or even create that business for your future. And you always want to have that peace of mind, financial confidence, right? When you file properly, you sleep better, at night, knowing that your numbers add up based off of the things that were covered. It's not just about taxes. It's about taking control of your finances and feeling good about where you stand when doing so.
Where does auditing come in after that?
You can be audited, but
Hmm.
it has nothing to do with you can do everything right. You know what I'm saying? The IRS does not have certain people that they pick. You get what I'm saying? Like they just randomly pick people. Audit just means the IRS is reviewing the tax return for to verify the accuracy of the return. Not that you did nothing wrong, because it doesn't necessarily mean you done something wrong. Sometimes audits are just random and triggered for discrepanary, circumstances or whatever, like mismatched income forms or larger deductions. Mortgage lenders, they care about verified income and tax compliance. That's pretty much what they care about. When you apply for a mortgage, lenders often ask for your last 2 years of tax returns. And if your return is under audit, they may delay your approval until the audit is resolved, because they need to know your reported income is accurate. It's not that you've done nothing wrong. You see what I'm saying? So that's what it's about. And if you owe taxes and penalties and things like that, it could affect your debt to income ratio, on your credit profile, which might lower your chances of getting approved for a home loan until everything is resolved.
Can you tell some of the people of the potential benefits of proper structuring when it comes to filing and how it can benefit your home or your business?
They can build or boost, emergency savings. They can pay down on interest debt, invest in their future. Like when you got jobs, contribute to your IRA, your Roth IRA, and other investment types accounts. Even a small start can grow significantly, throughout compound interest, just investing, in an IRA or Roth IRA. They can start, or add to a business fund that they might have, if they're self-employed, or planning to start a side business. The refund can help with, the startup costs by, buying equipment or things that they need, to start up their business in the future. Save for big goals, whether it's a down payment on a home that they want, their children's education for college, maybe even a dream vacation that they want to go do. Set up separate savings so, they can track, the progress on the money that they have. And like I said before, debt, right? Debt. We all want to get out of debt, right? Pay down, on your high interest debt. The little small ones you can work on, but if you have a big debt out there, use some of that tax refund, to take down a chunk out of your debt. If you're getting back, a good size tax refund, and always, aim for at least 3 to 6 months of living expenses. Put it in a high yield savings account that gives you peace of mind and financial stability in unexpected circumstances. Because guess what? You can stash that money into something that it can save for you, and even they also have these savings accounts now that you can get interest on, money market savings accounts and things like that, that most banks give you interest on. Let that money sit there so you can at least have, 6 months worth or 3 months worth, however that you can afford to do when it comes to the return that you get. Treat your return as an opportunity to build some type of wealth, not just a bonus to spend. A little planning today can create a lot of financial freedom later. And that's what I tell anybody when it comes to filing your taxes. Don't just go blow your money. Utilize, those factors that I just said.
Speaking of which, you're talking about aim for 6 months. Now, this is something I see people do. This is something I saw people aim for all the time. That's a higher tax return by claiming other people's kids now. But how dangerous is that? It's common. I mean, it's a part of the culture, period.
It is.
I've heard
It
it my
is.
whole life. I've seen people do it. I got family members that done it, and they end up paying it back. You know what I'm saying?
Because you
Sometimes it
know
happen
what?
right away. Sometimes it come back years later.
And that's true. Because the IRS can go back on you up to 3 years, right?
Mm.
So yeah, and that's in reality, just to keep it real, it's called tax fraud. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. It's really called tax fraud, especially if those children don't actually live in your home and they have not lived in your home for more than 6 months, and you provided a roof over their head, food in their mouth, and took care of those kids. If you just claiming Shirley down the street child because she wants some extra money because she's not working, that's tax fraud. In reality, that is tax fraud. The IRS cross check information. Each dependent social security number can only be used once per tax year. Because sometimes you got some people get a child to one person and then another person and trying to see who gonna get the money first, right? Not good. Not good. I say leave them kids where they at. You know what I'm saying? The IRS will flag both returns and it could delay or deny refunds while under investigation. It is what it is. And a lot of people, like you say, it's cultural. A lot of people do it, but when you do have that true right to carry that child, that's a different story. But when somebody is just wanting some extra money and they got 7 kids and okay, I'm gonna get this kid to such and such, I'm gonna get this kid to such and such, that's scamming and fraud right there. They know that's not supposed to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And to everybody out there, I hope you don't do it. You know what I'm saying? Please quit it. You know what I mean? Because you don't want to get audited. You don't want to get garnished. Trust me, you don't want that. It's nothing like payday coming. And when you see your check, it say $53 on it and 70 something odd cent. You know what I mean? It's nothing like getting ready to plan to go on a trip. You know what I'm saying? You know you got some bands in there. And when you get ready to book the hotel, it's gone. And so, but the cool thing is they will give it back. Now, depending on what you negotiate. But I will say this to everybody out there that don't know, who may say I was garnished or I was taxed or whatever, they will not call you. They only send letters. And that's the thing that threw me off. I didn't know. You can't use I don't know as an excuse. But I will say this, although the IRS is my least favorite people in the system, I do understand that they can be fair. So I will give them that. They can be fair if you call, talk to them, just communicate and negotiate whatever it is you can afford.
IRS, they also can, seize your account. That's true. That's what you were just talking about. You know what I'm saying? They can put a freeze on it. The IRS can go deep. So
You mentioned business filing. How different is business filing from personal filing?
right, personal taxes is what you make from your job, right? Retirement income, even side gigs, right? Most folks file a form 1040 when filing their personal returns. That's your main tax return, and it covers things like your W-2 income, your child credits, or deduction like mortgage interest and student loans. The goal with personal taxes is simple. You report what you earn, pay what you owe, and hopefully that refund you've been waiting on shows up, right? Because what you made, what you pay in is what you get in return, when it comes to filing those taxes on the personal taxes. Business taxes, that's a whole different ballgame, right? Now, when you own a business, even a small one, you step into a different tax world. You're not just reporting income, you're managing expenses, deductions, and self employment taxes. Business owners might file a Schedule C with their personal return, if they're the sole proprietor, or a separate form if they're an LLC or an S corp, right? The good news about that is you got a lot more opportunities for tax deduction when you have a business, right? Like your mileage, home office space, equipment, business meals, can work all in your favor when you do have an actual business or a side hustle that you do, you know. But personal income taxes and business taxes, you got your personal based on your wages and personal income. Your business tax is based on your business income and expenses. Personal, most of it is limited deductions. On a business, there's many deductions that you can take, and your personal, you file that. That's a simple file, and the other one, business, you have to have your documentation in place.
A couple more things before we get out of here. The internet. The internet is a thing that it's a gift and a curse in a way. A lot of information has been posted. A lot of information has been given based on predictions, based on conspiracies, just based on panic, based on a lot of different things. And in some cases, not so much of formal education or just reading the actual text that applies to the conversation. So when it comes to internet conversation about taxes and what may be, Source of your information in regards to tax filing and laws changing, whether nationally or locally. Where do you recommend people actually get good, solid, grounded information about taxes and filings?
IRS site is a very good place to start. IRS, because there's fake news out there, and then you have everybody posting all this different type of stuff. To me, the main thing is go to the source, the irs.gov site itself. Anything you want to know about the current year, past year, when it comes to taxes, go to the IRS, right? And then if you have a tax preparer that you've been dealing with, you're supposed to have a trusted tax preparer, right? You can always go to your tax preparer and ask those questions. That way you won't be led astray by something that you may have came across on Instagram or Facebook or whatever options you have on the internet. And I always tell people, don't believe everything you read, especially when it comes from the internet, like Facebook and things like that, because some people get worked up about things some people post, and then they be calling, oh, well, such and such said, no, ma'am. No, ma'am. Did you hear from the IRS? Because I promise you, if it's in stone, the IRS knows about it.
When it comes to filings, some people go years without filing, and some people say, "Hey, man, as long as you don't file, they won't garnish you. They can't get your money." But the minute you do file, after years of not filing, that's when they're gonna get you. Uh, what's the grace period when it comes to filing any taxes?
That is a total good question. That is. Oh my God. So many people say that because they don't be worried about filing their
Yeah,
taxes. And then they get these when you do file, and then your taxes are delayed because now the IRS has sent that letter that says you need to file years such and such and such and such
to
before
go
we can.
back.
That is correct, but usually on an individual tax return, the regular 1040 that you file, normally the date for that is due by April 15th, right? They have filing extensions. If you can't file by that date and you request an automatic 6-month extension, which moves your filing deadline to October 15th, right? To get it, the extension, a lot of people don't know you have to submit the form 4868, by the original April deadline. Okay. And it's important. This is an extension to file, not an extension to pay. A lot of people get that confused too. This is an extension to file, not an extension to pay, right? Any taxes owed are still due by April 15th, to avoid interest and penalties, right? So, and then like the IRS may give a short grace period for mailed payments postmarked by the deadline, long as it has that postmark by that deadline for those affected by, if you had a natural disaster or something like that going on. But generally, payments after the due date begin to accrue interest right away, when it comes to the IRS. So some taxpayers, like military members serving in combat zone or disaster area resident, automatically receive extended filing and payment deadlines, as well. But the bottom line to everything, you can buy yourself some extra time to file, but not extra time to pay. You file early, plan ahead, and if you're unsure, talk to your tax preparer before your deadlines hit. That's very important.
Right on. With Joyce, I appreciate that. And everybody out there, there's some real good news you can use. I think you done covered every base, and I really appreciate that. Thank you
Absolutely.
so much, Joyce. Now, for the viewers out there, just tell the people how they can get in contact with you to take advantage and support your services.
All right, guys, you can reach me at 318-792-8698. That number is available 24/7, right? If I miss your call, I promise I'll get back to you in a timely fashion. You can also send me an email at jharris.unlimitedtaxes@gmail.com. Again, that's jharris.unlimitedtaxes@gmail.com. So you guys reach out to me if you have any questions or need assistance, or even need some back taxes filed to get yourself caught up in a proper manner. Don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm here, I'm available, and I'm always ready to help.
Your notary services. Is that all? Can they contact you for those same services? For the
Absolutely,
information.
absolutely. And again, I'm out in the state of Texas, so Dallas way. So not Houston, but I'm in Dallas, or what have you. So if you're in the Dallas area and you need a notary, don't hesitate to use those same credentials. You can call me at that same number. You can use that same email. As I stated, I'm available.
I really appreciate the time. Thank you so much for the information. God bless you in every good and godly way. Till next time, man. Respect and salute.
Absolutely. Thank you. Y'all have a great evening.
Right on. You gone.